Greetings, it's Iain from RTO here. Welcome to Friday. It's a beautiful day, and unfortunately the lily white liliths are out again. If you wasn't watching the live stream last night, that's what my pale white legs are called, the lily white liliths. So I've got my shorts on again. It's going to be warm today, so Rocky has been already out. Wasn't happy, but at least he'll keep cool. So it's Friday, which means it's going to be a live album ranking, and we've got a great band today. We have got the Strawbs, founded in 1964, and they were called the Strawberry Hill Boys then, and they shortened to just the Strawbs. Some great people in this band. Dave Cousins, of course. Dave Lambert was in the band. Rick Reitman come through, but Dave Cousins has been there or thereabouts. Now, this is again, they've released 11 live albums, but I would say, I think 10. You'll find out in a minute. So we'll have a look at their 11 albums. So, coming in at number 11 is an album that I don't consider a live album. It's Full Bloom. It's an acoustic set done in a studio, and it's just Dave Cousins on lead vocals, backing vocals, acoustic guitar, mandolin and banjo. Dave Lambert on lead vocals, backing vocals and acoustic guitar, and Brian Wilbury on acoustic guitar. I'll just quickly go through the tracks that are on here. I mean, they're all good, don't get me wrong, but things. So we've got Autumn, Shine on a Silver Sun, Ghosts, The Flower and the Young Man, Remembering, You and I When We Were Young, The Winter and the Summer, Tears and Pavan, Out in the Cold, Round and Round, Alice's Song, Hero and Heroine, A Glimpse of Heaven, The River and Down by the Sea. First thing is, it's not about. I couldn't find it anywhere. But I thought I'd just mention it, so I'm just going to give it a 0 because I didn't find, there's no trace of it anywhere on social media, so I'm just gonna have to give that one a 0. Not because I don't like it, it's because I couldn't hear it. Okay, so we'll start on the real stuff. So coming in at number 10 is A Painted Sky, live album, acoustic, Strawbs, recorded at the Painted Studios in Cambria, California. This is Dave Cousins, Dave Lambert and Chaz Cronk this time. So again, this is a studio, live in the studio, no one else there. So they opened up from the debut album, How She Changed. It's alright. We have Autumn from Hero and Heroine, Cold Steel which is for this album only, New World from Grave New World, The Antiques Suite. Now this is a collection, it's off another live album called Just a Collection of Antiques and Curios, or Curios. Hard Winter from Deep Cuts, Midnight Sun from Hero and Heroine, great track, Grace Darling from Ghosts, If it's just on here, and Hero and Heroine. Unlike the previous album, this one is available, and I bet there wasn't much difference. It's just them in the studio. It's good, but I don't consider this a live album. But I do like it, so I'm going to give it an RTO ranking, a 5 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 9. Now this is recorded in 2006, and it's called Lay Down with the Strawbs, and it was recorded at the Robin 2 at Bilston, and features the Hero and Heroine lineup of the band with a guest appearance by former member John Ford. So it's Dave Cousins, Dave Lambert, Chaz Cronk, John Howken, Rod Coombs with John Ford. So we open up this with a great version of Lay Down from Bursting at the Seams, one of my favourite songs by the band. And then we have I Only Want My Love to Grow in You. Interesting title, isn't it? From Deep Cups, really good track. Shine on Silver Sun from Hero and Heroine's on here. Ghosts is on here, which is an amazing track. They stay with the Ghost album for Remembering and and You and I When We Were Young, and Cold Steel, which was on the Painted Sky album, a live auction from Ghosts, Out in the Cold and Round from Heroin, there's a track called Just Love, Autumn's on here. Then we have Rack Aswad's drum solo, Hero and Heroin, Part of the Union, a great single from Bursting at the Seams, The Man Who Called Himself Jesus off the very first album, Tears and Pavan, Bursting at the Seams, Kissed by the Sun, Lay Down, which is a little thing that was on this album only, and Heavy Disguise from Brave New World, which Mr. Ford was on. That's really good. Unfortunately, Dave Cousins' voice was a little bit groggy on this, and he did struggle. And there was a few bum notes in there, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 8. Now this is called Greatest Hits Live, and this was recorded for Central TV here in the UK, Bedrock series. It was pretty good, and they had lots of bands on here. And the band that was on this is Dave Cousins as ever, Tony Hooper, Richard Hudson, Brian Wilbury, Chris Parron and Rod Demick on the bass. So this is a few tracks. So the first track is from Burning for You, one of the later albums. It's Cut Like a Diamond. Great song, really good on here. Then we have Something for Nothing from Don't Say Goodbye. Excellent track. Hangman and the Papists from Witchwood. Love that song. Ringing Down the Years. Now this is from the album Ringing Down the Years, and it's a track that Dave wrote on here in the death of former member Sandy Denny, which was nice of him to do. Then we have Storming Down from Bursting the Seams. Excellent. Trust Grace Darling from Ghosts on here. The River and Down by the Sea. Wonderful tracks from Bursting at the Seams. There's a song with Lay Down. And then we have Part of the Union, all on the Bursting at the Seams album. Hero and Heroin ends it. It's pretty good. Dave sounds great on here, and it's just a nice little sort of greatest hits live thing, and it's going to get an RTO ranking of 6.5. Okay, coming in at number 7. Now this is recorded at the BBC for Sight and Sound in 1977, and it was broadcast in 1978. And the band, and I've got each year old, Dave Cousins, Dave Lambert, Chaz Cronk, Tony Fernandez on the drums, and Andy Richards on the keyboards. Opens up from the album Deadlines, The Last Resort. Really good version of it. Andy's keyboard work on that is pretty immense. Ghosts is on here, which is a great track. Then we go back to the Deadlines album for No Return. Go to Burning for You for Heartbreaker. Simple Visions from D Cups. Cut Like a Diamond from Burning for You. Then we have the little medley from About with the Cold and Ghost from Ghost with Round and Round, Hero and Heroin. Another little concert. Lots of albums, chunks off the Deadlines, which is their sort of forthcoming album. And I'm going to give that one an RTO of 6.6. Okay then, coming in at number 6. Now this was came out in 2004, and it's called Live at Nearfest, and it's the lineup is the album that played together on Hero and Heroin, Ghosts and Deja Vu. So the album lineup for those albums was Dave Cousins, Dave Lambert, Chaz Cronk, John Halkin and Rod Coombs. Now this one opens up with Out in the Cold and Round from Hero and Heroin. It goes into Lay Down. Great version of that, Bursting at the Seams. Pop over to the Burning for You album for a little bit of Burning for Me, followed by some New World from the Grave, New World, and then a ball-breaking version of Autumn from Hero and Heroin. Great track. Then we have the Remembering You and I When We Were Young from Ghosts, a bit of Heartbreaker from Burning for You, and then a track from Deja Vu, This Barren Land. It's nice to see that on this live album. Pretty good track. The Wonderful The River from Bursting at the Seams, Down by the Sea from Bursting at the Seams. Hero and Heroine, and a little reprise of Round and Round. Good album with a great lineup, some classic tracks on this one, and some stuff off the most recent album at the time. They play great on here, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 5. Recorded in 1998, sorry, at their 30th anniversary concert at Chiswick House. It's the Complete Strawbs. And wherever possible, the tracks were performed by the original musicians. Exceptions, keyboard players John Halkins, Andy Richards and Rick Wakeman were unable to attend. So who did they send to deputise? Rick's son Adam. Well, it's not too bad, is it? Not too shabby. Original bass player Ron Cheeseman and one-time drummer Tony Fernandez were present at the concert but didn't perform. So the performers were Dave Cousins, Tony Hooper, Dave Lambert, Brian Wilby, John Ford, Chaz Cronk, Rod Demick, Blue Weaver, Richard Hudson, Rod Grooms, with help from Catherine Greig on vocals, Rick Saunders on the violin, and Mr. Adam Wakeman. So we first starts off with a track off the Blue Angel album, which is nice, and it's Further Down the Road. It's a great track anyway. Grace Darling from Ghosts next. Love that track. Ringing Down the Years, a wonderful tribute to Sandy Denny. Then we go to Deep Cuts for Beside the Rio Grande, which is a fabulous track, and it's even better live. Out in the Cold and Round from Hero and Heroine. They go together like fish and chips. Then we have Hero and Heroine itself. From Witchwood, we have Witchwood and A Glimpse of Heaven. Then we get to the Dragonfly album, which is a great album for Josephine, Better for Worse. Then we go to that debut album for How She Changed. Very good version. Then we pop back to the Grave New World album for a bit of New World. The wonderful River from Bursting at the Seams. Terrific track, as I said. Bursting at the Seams again, Down by the Sea. And we end up with Part of the Union. This is great. The only thing about it, lack of crowd. It doesn't seem they've sort of knocked them out. There's a little bit of fading on it as well. But the music is great. These musicians are really good. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 7.4. Coming in at number 4. Now this goes back to the heyday. This was recorded at the Queen Elizabeth Hall on the 11th of July 1917. It's called Just a Collection of Antiques and Curios, or Curios. So the band at the time was Dave Cousins, Tony Hooper, John Ford, Rick Wakeman and Richard Hudson. This opens up with a little short piece called Martin Luther's King's Dreams. It's a very short piece, some nice acoustic guitars on here, some great vocals and a bit of wonderful piano work from Rick Wakeman. This is the only place you'll hear this track. Then we have this Antique Suite. Again, this is apart from that acoustic version, this is the only album this appears on. It's wonderful. The drumming from Richard is great. It's a very folky sort of track. Then we have the Temperament of a Mind, which is a Rick Wakeman sort of virtuoso. Bits of classical music and silent music thrown in there. It's just great. Rick Wakeman playing. Flip it over to side 2 of the album and we get Fingertips, another track that this is the only album it appears on. Some great little improvisations on that. And then we have A Song for a Sad Little Girl, some nice guitar from this, great vocal from Dave, and some nice Rick Wakeman pieces on there. Then we have a track from the debut album, Where is the Dream of Your Youth. It's a brilliant version of it, and that ends the album. It's a really good album. It's nice that there's tracks on here that you only hear on here. I love this. Rick Wakeman's playing on here is fantastic. I love this little album, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, coming in at number 3. Now, this is a live album that was published in 2006, but the tracks were recorded in 1970, and it's Recollection. It was on a tour supporting Roy Harper, just prior to the Queen Elizabeth gig. So again, it's Dave Cousins, Tony Hooper, John Ford, Rick Wakeman, Richard Hudson. So this one opens up with the track from Dragonfly, We'll Meet Again Sometime. Great version of it as well. I love that track. We go to the debut album for Or Am I Dreaming? Brilliant. Now, A Song for a Sad Little Girl. This is a better version than it's on Just a Collection of Antiques. It's really good. I don't know, for some reason it's much better. Then we go back to the debut album for that one, which was mine. Then we have Fingertips, A Man Who Called Himself Jesus from the Strawbs. Then Rick does his little virtuoso again, which is pretty good. Josephine, For Better For Worse from Dragonfly, the Antique Suites on here. Then the Battle from the debut album is amazing on here. And then they do a version of the Shadows Dance On, which is okay. I do love these two albums from 1970. You know, you've got to play them sort of together, because although you get some extra tracks, they're really good albums, and it was them in their early days with Rick in the band, and I'm going to give that an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 2. Now this came out in 2007, but it's Strawbs New NY 75, and it was recorded at the Calder Dome, New York, 1975. Just wonder if Michael knows of this theatre. I'm sure he does. So playing on here is Dave Cousins, Dave Lambert, Chaz Cronk, Rod Crooms, and on the keyboards on this one is Robert Kirby. John Meeling is on organ and synthesizers. So you get, this is like a radio broadcast in America, so you get this sort of intro on the tape, and it goes straight into Ghosts. Absolutely killer track. Autumn from Hero and Heroine. Love that track. Hanging in the Gallery from No Madness. Killer track, classic track. We stay with that album for The Promised Land. Two of the great tracks off this album. Then we go to The Grave New World for a little bit of New World. Wonderful version on here. Lemon Pie from Ghosts. Brilliant track. Remembering from Ghosts. And also You and I When We Were Young. Then we have, of course, Out in the Cold and Round from Hero and Heroine. As I said, you just can't have them separate. They have to be together. The Life Auction from Ghost. To Be Free from No Madness and Hero and Heroine. Okay, because it's a radio broadcast, it's not the best quality, but it's in mono, but it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. You know, if you want to hear Strawbs at their best, this is it. Forget the grogginess, it's just a great album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.5. But my number 1 album is Strawbs in Concert. Tracks taken from 2 in concerts, one in 1973 and one in 1974. It's one of these BBC packages, and all the people on here are playing. These are the members of the band that play on this album. On the first for the first gig in 73, we've got Dave Cousins and Dave Lambert playing on them all, but we've got Richard Hudson, John Ford and Blue Weaver on the first album, and Chaz Cronk, John Halcon and Rod Coombs on the second. So the first album from 1973 starts off with New World from Grave New World, which absolutely sounds brilliant as an opening track on this. Really good. And then we get all from Witchwood for a Bit of Sheep. Yes. Burst into Seams, my favourite album by this band, and it's Tears and Pavan. Great track. Wonderful. The Hangman and Papers from Richwood. Back to the Gravity World for a bit of Benedictus, followed by Heavy Disguise. Great songs on here. Go to the Bursting at the Seams album then for 2 wonderful tracks, The River and Down by the Sea. And they decide, well, while we're on this album, we'll do Winter and the Summer and Bursting at the Seams and Lay Down. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Autumn from Hero and Heroine, and then the usual album In the Cold and Round and Hero and Heroine and Lay a Little Light on Me. Some great tracks on this album from 72 and 74. The last few tracks were from 74. Absolutely killer tracks. It's a killer live album, and it's the Strawbs live at their best, and I think this is when they were really at their peak. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.6. So there we go. I know there's a lot of Strawbs fans out there, and they will be being featured on a Perfect Side very, very soon. You just got to guess which album it is. So that's all for this one. We'll be back with 2 brand new albums, and the first one we're going to look at is the new album from John Cale. So join me for that. Bye for now.